Today we are doing the spark plugs on this M113 engine. Unlike most V8s, this one is a twin spark setup, which means it has 2 spark plugs per cylinder, making it a 16 spark plug job. Let's dive right in. Mercedes made a number of different variations of this power plant installed in a number of different platforms, but the design is always the same. The M113 engine, they made it in the supercharged version, and they also made it in a naturally aspirated version. It ranges from a 4.3 liter, also known as the M113 E43. They made the E50, they made the E55, and then they also made the K version, which is the supercharged version of this engine. But the block and heads is always the same. It's always a twin spark setup, and it's always 2 spark plugs per cylinder, making it a 16 spark plug job. Now, Mercedes for this particular engine calls for a Bosch double platinum spark plug, and the part number for this spark plug here is, as you can see, FR8DPP33 Plus. Now, these particular spark plugs, these double platinum ones, you can check the gap, but you do not adjust the gap. The gap is 0.8 millimeters, I believe, or 31 thousandths of an inch. Because of the nature and the design of these spark plugs, you do not want to mess with them. If you drop the spark plug, you replace the spark plug, you not try to reuse it or adjust the gap, because the platinum coating, if you try to adjust it, will be removed. So don't mess with it. See how these, I don't know if I could show you better lighting of it. See how this thing is made. It's a very thin design. Unlike those older spark plug, I remember when I was a kid, you would throw a gap adjuster in there. Not in these ones right here, guys. You don't do that on these spark plugs right here. See it? See how this spark plug is made? You can check it, make sure, but they already come pre-gapped. Just make sure that nothing has an anomaly or it looks weird as spark plugs. And like I said, they should come already pre-gapped. As far as access goes, here, hold on, let me put this spark plug in, because these are, sorry, I'm on one hand job here. Okay, they're back in. On an W163ML with a 5 liter, in this case the ML 500, it's pretty easy to get to the spark plugs. Unlike the horizontally opposed engines, all we have to do is remove this cover here, and then just like that, it pops out. And it should be pretty clean under there already, since I did the valve cover gaskets the last time. Let's put this down right here, and it looks pretty clean under here. The last time I did the valve covers, I cleaned all this up, so it should be relatively clean to do all this. Now, these are pretty tight in there, so, but we'll get to that. I believe you just use it. Oh, look at that. It just came right off with my hands. Oftentimes, the people use a 17 millimeter wrench or some kind of wrench that they use to leverage against a valve cover, and that's how they... what happened? Where are you, spark plug? That's what they do to... okay, what they do, they leverage against with a 17 millimeter wrench, they leverage against the valve cover, and they pop the spark plug wire out. So take your time. It's not too bad. What we're going to do next is take out this air filter here, which will give us access to the right bank of cylinders, 8 spark plugs, and these ones here, relatively speaking, they're pretty easier to access. Now, it's going to get dark in here because it is winter. Well, not quite yet, but it is cold out, especially because we live in the mountains, folks, and it does get rather cold out here. So I'm going to close the garage door, turn the heater on, and by the time this video restarts, this will be out, which will give us access to the right bank of cylinders. And this job should go nice and fast. And I'll tell you guys what to do in terms of making it easy for the next guy, especially if that guy is you, to do this job right, so that they're not too hard to take off and to put back on. And I'll tell you what the torque spec is for these spark plugs as well. Super easy job. You should be in and out. You should be in and out of this job in about a couple hours at the most, if you take your time while you're singing along and doing the job. Worst case scenario, I don't know. Hopefully we don't encounter this worst case scenario, but if we have any problems, we'll obviously address it and we'll talk about it now. I've had this car for 100,000 miles. I've never done a spark plugs on this car, so I honestly don't know what to expect, to be honest with you, but we'll see. We'll see how this thing looks, and we'll just make it happen. Let's jump right in. And we are back. As I told you, I took the air filter off on the right bank of cylinders to have access to the spark plugs on this side, and this is the left side right here. You are going to need a ratchet. It's going to be a 3/8 size socket. Get something that is specifically made for spark plug so that it holds the spark plug in place in the socket when the time comes to insert the spark plug with an extension, the likes of, say, something like this. Try not to drop the spark plug inside of the hole of the cylinder head. These electrodes are very delicate. You definitely don't want to bend this part here, the negative side of the electrode, because you want the most, obviously, spark efficiency. Now, sorry, I bumped into the rear mirror here. I'm going to start on the left side first because it's the harder side to do. Why? Because I'm still fresh, energetically speaking, and I'm not frustrated with the job just yet. So I'm going to start with the left side first. So once this is done, and relatively speaking, I'm a little tired, exhausted, I'm want to get this job done, at least I am doing the easier ones last. That's usually the philosophy that I use when I tackle any job. Start the hard part first, and with the easy, at least the end, it's a pleasure. All right, guys, so what I'm going to do personally, because the access is limited, do take pictures of which wire of the coil goes on which spark plugs. I'm going to take all these. I'm not going to all these wires out. I will not remove the coils because I don't feel like it, but if I take these wires out, it should provide sufficient access to get to the spark plugs with an extension, and I don't want to remove this heat shield either. All right, so let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to remove all these spark plug wires here, and they're probably going to be in there rather Humpty Dumpty in there. All right, but anyway, all right, let's make it happen, and I'll show you what it looks like. I was really hoping that I could just remove the spark plug wires and remove the spark plugs without having to touch these coils, but no. No, this is one of those worst case scenarios. I was talking about, oh, did my light just die on me? We'll adjust this shortly here. We'll replace the battery and that so that we can have more illumination. But back to the job. What I had to do is actually disconnect the clips from the top of the coils and remove these coils here. To remove the coils is going to be a T30 socket that looks like this, guys. Here it is right here. It's going to look like this, and this is what I did. Make sure I align the coils so that I know which one goes where, and even which spark plug wire goes to which spark plug. I also took pictures so that I know which wire goes on top and which wire goes in the bottom. And mind you, though, it is a twin spark, meaning each coil will set a spark to both wires at once. So getting the wires backwards is relatively not an issue. But we don't want to do that. We want to do the job right and put everything back the way it was. Now, a little caveat here. If you end up doing what I did, where you remove the coils, you need to know this. These clips here get brittle. Now, I've replaced each and every one of these clips when I did the valve cover job on this very engine. And I made a video about how you can look at it. And I'll tell you there what the part number is and how to replace these clips. If you end up going down this road to do the spark plugs, be aware of that you might have to replace those clips as well. So now the coils are off, they're disconnected, and so are the spark plug wires. And the way I did this is once I removed the coils from the top, because mind you, disconnecting the spark plug wire from the coil is a lot easier and it takes a lot less effort then taking the spark plug wire from the spark plug. How I did it, once I disconnected it here and took the coils off, is I put a 17 millimeter wrench right around the neck here, you see it, of the spark plug wire. So with one hand I would pry on the wrench, and the other hand I used around the spark plug wires, and with two hands they came off. But I'm going to tell you right now, they're kind of tough to take off. Not impossible, but definitely tough. Just keep that in mind. All right, so I'm going to get in there, remove all the spark plugs. Then I'll tell you what the torque for the installation of the new spark plug is, and it also what the torque for these coils back and above covers is. I am going to use some Loctite 242 so that these don't come loose, and also make sure that this metal band that's under the coil, if you choose to remove the coil, is a nice raw metal, because it does make contact, metal to metal contact right here on the valve cover for grounding purposes, for proper wires and spark plug functioning. All right, let's take these spark plugs off, guys. And the spark plugs are out, guys. There we have it. And I gotta tell you, they look pretty good. As you can see, even though the gap has increased, because these things have been burning for quite some time, they actually look really good. Look how clean the burn is. There's no oil burning inside the engine. This is another reason why when you take the old spark plugs out, it's a good opportunity to inspect the spark plugs. It tells you a story of how the combustion chambers are doing. See, this one here also looks really good. See it? These are all look good, as if they had almost a perfect combustion all along. But you might say to yourself, why would you put two spark plugs instead of one in each combustion chamber? Simple, really. It improves combustion and efficiency and makes better use of the chemical energy of the gasoline, therefore putting out more horsepower without having to do things such as increase compression of the engine or put a turbo or a supercharger. So you just burn the fuel better, and in so doing you get more horsepower. And that's what a twin spark setup is all for. Look at that. They look really good, though. They're definitely due for a change. What we're going to put in looks just like it, see, but the electrode is the gap is much narrower. Okay, so now these are the old spark plugs. We're going to put new ones in. I already told you what kind of spark plugs we're going to put in. I am going to use, however, some C5A, I believe it's by Loctite, as anti-seize compound, high temperature anti-seize compound. I'm just going to put a little bit on the threads, nothing crazy, so that it's not so hard to take these out the next time, because I got to tell you, these were a bear to put in. So we're going to put the spark plugs in. The torque on the spark plugs is 20.65 foot-pounds, or 20 to 21 foot-pounds, or 28 newton meters, I believe. So what you're going to do is, in my case, I'm going to put a little bit of a anti-seize compound on the threads here a little bit, so that it'll be easier to come off the next time, and then we'll guide them by hand with the where is it? With the socket and the extension. We're going to put it in by hand, and then we'll snug it down with the ratchet, and then we'll torque it down to spec again at 20.65 or 20 to 21. I'm going to go with 20 and a half because this ratchet goes in increments of half a foot-pounds. I don't want to go to 21. And yeah, torque them all back. It will torque this whole left bank down, and we also changed the battery on my trustworthy light. Here it is right here. You guys get a little better illumination. See, it looks pretty good. Yeah, we'll throw all these babies in, and then I'll tell you about the coils, which I believe they're torqued down to 70 inch-pounds, but we're going to use some Loctite on those so they don't come loose, such as a Loctite 242. It is a mild Loctite. It does a pretty good job of make sure the stuff doesn't come undone during thermal cycling and vibration from the engine. All right, let's put the new spark plugs in, and We'll put the coils in and then we'll move on to the right side. Let's do it. I actually had to stop because you need to know this before you jump on this job thinking it's going to be all hunky-dory. You think taking these spark plugs wires was hard? You wait until you have to put them back in. And my God, let me tell you, I'll tell you what I am doing, and it's been hard. I am using a 70, and I just so happen to have some crow feet here in the garage. Otherwise, I would not know what to do. What I'm doing is I'm putting a crow foot around the head of the spark plug wire like so. And here, let me see. Sorry, I have one hand to do this to show you. Here, I'm putting a spark plug wire. Let me see. Come on. Like so. You see it? On top of the head of the... And I am pressing down for dear life with both hands. I do wiggle a little bit to make the insert inside here to kind of click on. But let me tell you, it has not been easy. I have one last one to go. Sorry. I have one last one to go for the left bank here. And then we'll put the coils in. But I had to stop and let you guys know. Before you jump on this job to do this, figure out a way to how you're going to press those wires back on the spark plugs. Because right now, and I speak from experience, it's been the hardest wires I've ever had to press on a spark plug. I thought I'd let you know. All right, I'm going to finish this side here with the last wire over there. Then I'm going to put the coils on, and then we're going to, like I said, they're going to be torqued down to 70 inch-pounds. And then we're also going to make sure that they don't move, and then we'll put the clips back, and then we'll move on the right side to make this happen. All right, let's continue. Oh, one last thing. The difference between a M113 and an M112 engines, the M112 is this a V6. It has the same spark plugs, the same wires, the same coils as a V8. The job is essentially the same with the same torque specs as well. And then we'll make a note of this in the description part of the video so that if you have a V6 instead of a V8, the job is exactly the same with 2 less cylinders. All right, let's continue. And the left bank of spark plugs, it is done. Was it hard? Absolutely, a lot harder than I had anticipated. Some superhuman strength is needed to put these spark plugs wires back in. 70 inch-pounds on these coils here for the bolt on top. It says T30, I believe. Make sure that they don't move when you're done. Make sure that the clips are properly clipped in. If these break on you, I made a video about those clips. It was part of a video on when I did the valve covers on it. As far as the valve cover, not the valve cover, sorry. As far as the wires go for the spark plug, the forward spark plug wire goes on top. The aft spark plug wire goes on the bottom, and it's the same thing all the way down. What you did on the left, we are going to now do on the right. Now the right side went a lot smoother than the left side. All I had to do to get the job done was to remove the wires from the spark plugs and from the coils and just move them out of the way. Otherwise, they would be getting in the way when you're removing and installing the spark plugs and torquing them down. Another thing is you want to move this auxiliary water pump out of the way, and it just mounts on this bracket like so. There's not really... just clips on and clips off, nothing to it really. And now we're just going to put the wires back and torque it down to 21 foot-pounds and, well, 20.65. I went to 20.5. One little detail, every new spark plug has a crush washer. When you torque the spark plug down, make sure that you keep on keep trying to torque it to the torque spec, but that crush washer will keep giving, and that spark plug will keep turning. Sorry, my hand is in the way. And the spark plug will keep turning. So you want to just keep on, if you have a click type, just click it like 4 or 5 times until it stops clicking and the spark plug stops turning. Then you know it's torqued down to spec. All right, guys, hopefully this video was of help to you. Remember to subscribe for more videos like this. And hopefully you enjoyed doing this job as much as I did. And it was a pleasure of mine to be of service to you. We will see you at the next video. Take care.